Hi, my name's Scott Lewis. I'm the VP of Operations with Lagasco, and the title of my talk is Lagasco Update: Key Issues Affecting Profitability of Ontario Natural Gas Producers. Today, I'd like to discuss two issues affecting the profitability of many Ontario natural gas producers. These issues, if corrected, should lead to more consistent production with real potential for increased natural gas exploration and development activities. Resolving these issues will benefit Ontario in many ways, both economically and environmentally. I will also provide an update on the work that Legasco and the OPI have done to date to address these issues. The first issue I'd like to explore today is Ontario producer natural gas pricing and Enbridge charges. Natural gas production has a very long history in Ontario, with the first year of recorded production in 1890. Since then, natural gas has been produced continuously, with several peaks due to successful exploration and development activities. Since 1985, gas production in Ontario has slowly declined in a steady and consistent manner. The majority of the natural gas produced in Ontario was and still is in the local rural service perimeter area of the former Union Gas Limited. For more than 100 years, Union naturally amalgamated multiple local Ontario producers and grew itself into the sophisticated integrated utility it became, hence the name Union Gas prior to its amalgamation into Enbridge Gas Inc. in 2019. Historically, local producers were respected, needed, and understood, as this union of producers was the root of the gas company. After natural gas was connected out of necessity to Western Canada in 1958 with the Parliament's support of the Trans-Canada Pipeline's interprovincial pipeline, gas began to flow from Alberta. Storage was developed, and the Panhandle pipeline networks were twinned to enhance provincial access to incremental gas supplies. Union naturally grew to hold an integrated and dominant market position as the gas utility in southwestern Ontario, where locally produced natural gas supplies remained an integrated part of the provincial supply mix. Over the succeeding decades, Union understandably evolved to a position where it and its customers outgrew sole reliance on these Ontario production facilities to supply increasing incremental gas volumes to satisfy provincial gas requirements. However, over those decades, Union also began to dictate the terms on which it would or would not receive gas from local producers. Most natural gas producers in Ontario operate conventional wells to deliver gas to treatment facilities and then to local utility pipelines. Ontario gas production in 2018 was 5,155 terajoules and accounts for under 1.5% of Ontario's total gas consumption. Although declining, Ontario production in aggregate is steady and has been reliably produced for over 120 years. Ontario produced natural gas offers several benefits over gas procured from outside jurisdictions for consumers, for the province, and for its treasury. Most Ontario produced natural gas is delivered directly to customers from gathering lines into local utility distribution networks, which then flow to customers without passing through the majority of Enbridge infrastructure. In addition, Ontario produced natural gas enriches local economies through employment, indirect services by providing royalties to landowners and to the province, and through municipal, provincial, and federal taxes paid. The province of Ontario receives a 12.5% royalty on approximately 70% of natural gas produced in the province. The use of Ontario's natural gas resources over other jurisdictions also offers environmental benefits. Locally produced gas has a reduced environmental footprint in that all natural gas in Ontario is produced by conventional means and does not utilize controversial high-volume hydraulic fracturing techniques. Locally produced gas also has a reduced carbon footprint as compared to ex-Ontario sources. This is due to its proximity to end-use customers because less transportation is required and therefore less fuel gas for compression. Fuel gas shrinkage from Alberta to Ontario on the Trans-Canada Pipeline network is estimated to be 4%. Additionally, fuel consumed in storage and transmission within Enbridge franchise territory is avoided with Ontario production. The Ontario producer is given two options when delivering natural gas into Enbridge pipeline network in the Southern System rate zone. The producer can sell directly to Enbridge through a standard gas purchase agreement or transport the gas to Dawn through an M13 contract where it can be sold there. Dawn is Ontario's main storage and trading hub for natural gas. The price received by Ontario producer for the commodity when selling under the GPA is the Intercontinental Exchange NGX Union Dawn month-ahead bid week. The method used to calculate the price is based on electronic trades in the last 5 days of a month for delivery in the next month at dawn. Under the GPA contract, Enbridge subtracts 11 cents per gigajoule transportation and balancing fee, in addition to monthly meter station fees in order to deliver gas to the utility. Enbridge provides storage, transportation, and delivery services for natural gas consumers in Ontario. Enbridge charges all consumers on rate gas in the Southern System rate zone a total gas supply commodity charge for the natural gas commodity delivered in this rate zone. Enbridge also charges customers for delivery, administration, and several other services, including storage and balancing. These rates are updated quarterly and are approved by the Ontario Energy Board. The total gas supply commodity charge consists of two components, commodity and fuel, and a commodity and fuel price adjustment. The commodity and fuel charge is the 12-month ahead forecast of the gas cost to be incurred by Enbridge for the Southern System customers, including upstream transportation to Dawn. Enbridge purchases natural gas from Appalachia, Chicago, Niagara, Western Canada, and U.S. mid-continent in addition to Dawn, and all these sources of gas, including upstream transportation, contribute to this total gas supply commodity charge. The commodity and fuel price adjustment is used to adjust for actual commodity and fuel costs as balances accumulate in the purchase gas variance account. The mean difference in total gas supply commodity charge versus price received by the Ontario producer under the GPA contract from January 2015 through October 2020 is 87 cents per gigajoule. It should be noted that this difference is only for the commodity and does not include all other rates for service Enbridge charges. It is well established that there is a natural continuum of added value along the chain of natural gas service deliveries from the wellhead to the customer. There is limited value to natural gas produced where there are no customers or pipelines. Gas utilities derive their value by transporting, storing, and delivering natural gas to customers, for which services they charge their customers according to their approved regulatory matrix. Ontario producers believe they should receive the total gas supply commodity charge for natural gas delivered to Enbridge in the Union South rate zone. The gas purchased by Enbridge from local producers should be purchased at the point of delivery onto the Enbridge distribution system. This total gas supply commodity charge price appropriately represents, for rate-setting purposes, the true value of natural gas commodity in the local communities where Ontario producers deliver natural gas, as it is the board-approved rate charged to customers for the commodity. In addition to receiving the total gas supply commodity charge, Ontario producers should receive a share of the delivery charges Enbridge administers to its customers that are avoided by the utility when Ontario producers deliver. In August of 2019, the OPI participated in the Ontario Energy Board's consultation to review natural gas supply plans for Enbridge's 5-year gas supply plan in order to request that the value of Ontario natural gas be recognized through appropriate pricing for commodity delivered, Enbridge delivery costs avoided, and the elimination of Enbridge transportation and balancing charges at Dawn, among other producer concerns. The OPI made several submissions which resulted in the OEB requesting that Enbridge and Ontario producers meet to explore the requests. After initial meetings, Enbridge has offered to eliminate the transportation and balancing charges for Ontario producers if production volumes can be offered on a firm basis. Enbridge has also agreed that enfranchised compressor fuel costs and facility carbon charges are avoided by Ontario producer gas deliveries into their system. To date, discussions continue between Ontario producers and Enbridge. The second key issue affecting Ontario producer profitability and hence viability that I'd like to spend some time on today is municipal tax valuations for pipelines, facilities, and wellheads. There are roughly 1,200 active oil wells and 1,400 active natural gas wells in Ontario of varying age and well construction. All of these wells have gathering pipelines that can range in length from a few meters to several kilometers, and additionally differ in size and construction material. There are over 2,150 kilometers of gathering pipelines in Ontario. A wellhead is a component at the surface of an oil and gas well that provides a structural and pressure containing interface for production equipment. Each well has a wellhead which can vary in size, components, and pressure rating. Facilities are generally designed to remove brine water, water vapor, impurities, and in some cases H2S from oil and gas to get it to sales grade product. Facilities include, but are not limited to, tank batteries, compressors, treaters, separators, dehydrators, sheds, buildings, and the land on which they sit. The Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, or MPAC, is an independent not-for-profit corporation funded by all Ontario municipalities whose role is to accurately assess and classify all properties in the province. Once MPAC has valued the properties, the valuation assessment is given to the municipalities who use their municipal rack rates to tax the various properties within their geographical jurisdiction. Ontario producer properties can be divided into two categories for assessment purposes based on the assessment methodology used by MPAC. Wellheads and facilities are assessed using a fair market value methodology, whereas pipelines are assessed by MPAC at regulated rates in their linear division. The fundamental problem with the municipal taxation of both pipelines and facilities, including wellheads, is that depletion or obsolescence has not historically been adequately incorporated into the assessment. When pipelines and facilities are constructed for a well or group of wells, the pipelines and facilities are sized appropriately for a maximum throughput. Peak production or maximum throughput generally occurs within the first few years when wells are brought on stream and completions occur. After this time, production often declines until eventually, often decades later, wells are plugged and facilities are decommissioned. Natural decline and depletion of oil and gas reserves and obsolescence of facilities over time needs to be recognized in the assessment process by municipal taxation policies. Revenues decline with production over time, while pipelines and facility valuations and taxes have been increasing. The effect of this assessment flaw is that oil and gas gathering pipelines are being assessed at over 50 times their value as determined by arm's length transactions. The increased municipal taxation burden on many producers has become untenable. For producers, unlike pipeline companies and utilities, the value of the asset is in the reserves of the oil and gas. Without the reserves, the infrastructure to extract that reserve is redundant. In some municipalities, some producers, municipal taxation is approaching 50% of revenue, leading to bankruptcies, premature decommissioning, and wasted provincial resources. The municipal oil and gas assessment problem is not unique to Ontario. The same dire problem exists in Alberta as well. In 2019, Alberta recognized the effects of municipal taxation on producer profitability in a maturing industry with wild commodity price swings and cut the municipal taxes by 35% across the board for the producers to provide immediate relief while the province works on amendments to their policies for equitable taxation. It should also be noted that MPAC incorporates obsolescence in its guidelines for assessing mining properties in Ontario. OPI members and producers have been challenging the MPAC assessment for both categories of pipelines and facilities, including wellheads, through the Ontario Energy Board and Superior Court system, respectively, for several years now, and have delivered several briefing communications to the MNRF and MOF. Legasco applied to the OEB in June of 2019 to have the matter of pipeline assessment within MPAC's linear group heard. A similar argument was taken to the OEB by Tribute Resources back in 2016, but this hearing resulted in an unfavorable decision for Tribute. As the issue is of significant importance to Legasco, another application with new evidence was brought back to the OEB by Legasco. Legasco argued that their gathering pipelines are being overtaxed and are not pipelines as defined in the Municipal Assessment Act because they are distinctly different from transmission and distribution pipelines in that they do not operate at or near capacity and have a value and usefulness inextricably linked to the reserves that they gather. Legasco also argued that it did not designate any of its pipelines as transmission pipelines, which is a requirement of the Act. On this point, MPAC argued that because roll numbers were created, pipelines must have been designated, but MPAC could not produce any designation documentation. On April 15, 2021, Legasco received a positive decision from the Ontario Energy Board indicating that their pipelines are not pipelines as defined by the Municipal Assessment Act. Through discussions between Legasco and MPAC, MPAC now recognizes that pipeline taxation in the linear group does lead to excessive valuations, but they have indicated the need for government intervention to clarify the intent of the Assessment Act. In the Lagasco OEB decision, the OEB states that a full examination of these issues directed by the provincial government would be a welcome development. It is our hope that the government will assist in the pipeline taxation issue to recognize the difference between producers and transmission companies in the pipeline valuation methodology. Lagasco has suggested a possible solution to fair pipeline taxation for gathering lines in the province. Depletion and obsolescence tables could be easily incorporated into the linear group's current valuation scheme, which would allow gathering lines to have a further depreciation, taking into consideration average annual oil and gas decline rates and pipeline age. This potential solution has been shared with MPAC, the MOF, and the MNRF. As for facility and wellhead assessments, Legasco has been working closely with MPAC for several months to reassess values and incorporate obsolescence into their valuations of wells and facilities. This comes after Legasco lost their Superior Court hearing attempting to classify all facilities as manufacturing facilities, which would have led to exemption of the machinery and equipment. Once this hearing was lost, it became apparent that fair market value negotiation would ensue with MPAC to attempt to reach settlement rather than have a long assessment review board hearing to determine the end result. Through this cooperative relationship, Legasco has been able to reach settlement with MPAC for all 26 of its roles. The result has been a greater than 50% reduction in value of the facilities and wells. Working with MPAC's key oil and gas valuator allowed for information sharing and education of MPAC as to the natural industry declines, as well as decreased throughput, with specific verifiable data being provided to MPAC to corroborate the factual information shared. Clearbeach is in the process of completing the same valuation process with MPAC, and the results are looking favorable at this point. In conclusion, Ontario has a long and proud history of natural gas production dating back to 1890. In the past decade, depressed commodity prices due to the shale revolution and natural declines within a mature industry have acted to highlight and exacerbate some long-standing issues for Ontario producers. Fair natural gas pricing and Enbridge charges that recognize the value of gas were delivered, along with fair municipal taxation, which recognizes depletion and obsolescence, is needed. I hope this presentation has explained the key challenges in detail and highlighted some of the progress to date that Legasco and the OPI have made in addressing them. With resolution of these key issues, the Ontario natural gas industry can continue to provide economic, societal, and even environmental benefits to the province for many years to come. Thank you.